Which Back to the Future character are you? The other week, I was inspired by a client to give him the example of the Back to the Future cast in order to represent what it means for our impact core. And this is our communication side of things. This is how we communicate all about our needs and wants and our desires. And in Back to the Future, it's a perfect example. There's 4 main characters. We've got Biff, who's the director, Marty, who's the persuader, George, this is Dad McFly, he's definitely the diplomat, and then we have Lorraine McFly, she's the perfectionist. And what is so beautiful about this example is that we see Marty McFly as this beautiful diplomat who really just wants to keep the peace, do whatever Biff says in order to get it, get through it. But then when we have Marty going back in time and he persuades his dad to step in and change the course of the time. And what's really fascinating is he's trying to replicate the past, but instead he changes it into a new future moment. And I think that is really the beauty of it. If we really step into our role in our impact core, or if we really challenge ourselves to be stronger in another area, it can really shift our entire projection. So if you remember when Marty started the movie, Biff was the boss and he was still dragging George through the mud. But when he goes back, he convinces his dad to stand up for himself and to stand up for Lorraine and be that person, kind of match the director in his own game. And when he did, Marty successfully went back to the future. He saw that now George was the business owner and Biff actually worked for him. And so what I'm trying to say in this kind of roundabout example is that we can clearly see the 4 main characters of the impact core in this particular movie example, which gives us a really beautiful real life representation of the main characteristics that each of us hold. And it gives us an opportunity to say, hey, where am I? Which character am I? Who do I represent or relate to most? And am I George? Is there something in my life? Is there a boundary I need to set or establish that could get me a little bit further on in the future? Then we've got someone like Lorraine, a perfectionist. A perfectionist is someone who remembers every single detail from the past because it's important to them. Just like she remembered how they first met and they had their first dance and that's how they fell in love. That is the perfectionist. How can we look back at our history and remember it possibly differently through that lens of a perfectionist? Biff, of course, the director, this is someone who's just my way or the highway. Get my homework done or I'm going to punch you in the face. Oh, you're going to run, so I'm going to chase you around. But the director is also someone that needs to be challenged. This is someone that iron sharpens iron. And so someone that is being challenged in the director role, maybe you think, okay, how is this making me stronger? How can I be a better director because I'm being challenged in this way? And then we have Marty the persuader. He's the guy who's really trying to convince his dad, just ask her out, just, hey, do the thing, And Marty is realizing that, whoa, if it isn't in your natural tendency, it's a little bit harder for you to be that persuader or to hold yourself back from being the director. And so this particular example isn't biblical, but I think it's a real life example of how the impact core can be perceived and be utilized in a new way. And I also think it's really fun to note that when George stood up for himself, he totally transformed his projection in life. And I'm wondering how many opportunities that other diplomats have out there or other people in general who want to make substantial changes in their life. Well, sometimes it can take just one step. Sometimes it's just one boundary. Sometimes it's just one incident. And so I want to encourage you and challenge you today that your goals are possible, especially if we know where you are in the impact core. How can we then apply that and make it an asset for you to get to where you want to be faster? We can see that George did this for himself. Marty's future changed. Lorraine's future changed. And so my question to you is, If we can assume that you take up one of these categories or multiple, how can we now have an impact on your life regarding around this knowledge? Thank you for joining me today. My name is Cora. I'm the intake associate and also in factor specialist here with the Love Factor. And by taking a brief assessment, we can tell you where your impact core lies. And for some people, it is the biggest challenge in relationship. Other people, it's the biggest blessing. And so once we know this, we can help you work with it and move forward. Thank you for joining me today. See you in the next video.